High above the city, on the tallest column of white marble, stood the statue of the Happy Prince. He was covered in thin leaves of pure gold, with two bright sapphires for eyes and a ruby glowing on the hilt of his sword. When he was alive, the prince had lived inside a great palace where sorrow was never allowed to enter. People called him Happy Prince because he knew nothing but sadness or tears. But now, after death, placed up high above the city, he could finally see everything he had never seen before. One cold evening, a little swallow flew over the city. He was on his way to Egypt for the warm winter. But he stopped beneath the statue for rest. As he tucked his wings, a drop of water fell on him. How strange! "There is no rain tonight," he said. Another drop fell again. The swallow looked up and saw that the Happy Prince was crying. Tears rolled down his golden cheeks. "Why are you crying?" asked the swallow. "You are beautiful and placed high above the world." "When I was alive," said the prince, "I lived in a palace where sorrow had no place. My courtiers called me the Happy Prince, and I believed them. For inside the palace I never saw what was outside. But now I can see the misery and sadness of my city. And though my heart is made of lead, I cannot help but cry." The prince then told the swallow to take the ruby from his sword and give it to a poor seamstress whose son was sick and hungry. The swallow did not want to stay, for winter was near, but his little heart softened. He flew through the dark streets and dropped the ruby on the table. The woman was shocked and grateful, and the boy smiled with hope. The swallow returned to the prince. The next day, the prince saw a young playwright trying to finish his play in a cold attic. He was weak, tired, and starving. "Take one of my sapphire eyes to him," said the prince. The swallow obeyed. When the playwright found the gem, his spirits lifted and he wrote with joy. Later, the prince asked the swallow to remove the other sapphire eye and give it to a poor match girl who was crying because no one bought her matches. The swallow knew that the prince, now blind, the prince asked the swallow to stay and describe the world for him, and the swallow stayed. Every day he removed thin leaves of gold from the prince's body and carried them to the starving and the poor. The statue lost its beauty, yet the hearts of the poor gained warmth. Winter came at last. The swallow grew weaker, for he could not bear the cold. One day he knew he could fly no more. "Goodbye, dear prince," he whispered. "Will you let me kiss your hand?" "I am glad you are going to Egypt," said the prince. "You have stayed too long." "I am not going to Egypt," said the swallow. "I am going to the house of death." He kissed the prince and fell lifeless at his feet. At that very moment, a loud crack sounded, for the lead heart inside the prince broke in two. Soon after, the city officials saw the worn statue and declare,